Hello and welcome. My name is Margaret Gilbert from Corporate Contracts and I'm the Director of Corporate Contracts. So welcome, and these set of videos that you can find on YouTube and elsewhere are all about how to make procurement better. That is the aim and the goal. So welcome to the word on contract matters and about contracts. So corporate contracts is about three things. One is procurement consultancy, one is procurement training, and the other is in respect to contract matters books that I've written, a copy of which I have here, and you'll be able to find the more details about the contract matters book at the end of this video. So I work for both buyer and supplier. For buyers, I just look to ensure that the process is done well and to incorporate what's necessary into the procurement process. For suppliers, I assist them to understand what the procurement process is all about and to assist them to ensure that the proposal responses they put in to buyers covers both the technical and the commercial side that buyers are looking for. I hope that this gives you an idea about what corporate contracts is about. I look forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to get in contact through www.contractmatters.com or through my email, which is margaret@corpcontracts.co.nz. So look forward to hearing from you. And these videos is all about how to make procurement better. That is the aim and the goal. So look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening. Thank you. So the bullet points of the previous video are basically, in terms of a summary, is to the fact that we need to have an acceptance of technology, that it is with us and it's not going to change, and that we've got to keep abreast of it and be aware of what's coming up and pay attention. Also, we talked about the issues that are a bit troublesome at the moment, which is around electronic signatures and whether that's acceptable or not. And that there's going to be some issues needed to be talked about, especially around acceptance from the legality of it all, and also how it's going to probably require the law to keep up as well, because it's always a step or two behind. The disadvantage, there is a disadvantage in terms of technology, and that's perhaps in terms of the approval process, and if it's one-off or whether it's just ongoing, and whether, so the whole aspect there. And the majority of the video talked about the need for contract flexibility and the need to look at things differently, so not just have the normal type contract, but to actually have something that reflects the situation for the specific situation, and for there be room to be flexibility, and to make sure that the contract is flexible so that there's room there to grow as the relationship grows. And lastly, we talked about performance-based outcomes in terms of rather than just a result, is actually based on performance and ensuring that performance happens. So that is a summary of the bullet points for this video. Thank you.
So in terms of the future, what type of contracts do you think will come forward in the future? Have you seen any changes?
Yeah,
just recently?
They're just starting to change. And with technologies coming into the mix, there's something called smart contracts.
I haven't heard of that before. Tell me about that.
No, well, smart contracts is relation to actual technology, that's sort of software and stuff like that, and has a sort of mechanism, so to speak, to be able to be followed up electronically, and rather than by a person, so to speak. And of course, again, you've got to hope that the software will do what it's supposed to do and the technology won't let you down. So you've got to have faith. Now, is there much of it in presence at the moment? No, there's not, but it's starting to be here. And it's going to take a bit of thinking about how to manage that, because sooner or later there has to be a human being involved in terms of saying, okay, is it okay? Is it not? And that's especially in terms of what perhaps the KPIs are, and whether in fact the software is saying, yes, the KPIs have been met or not.
Okay, so the software is going to have some rules and regulations in it,
yes.
some protocols. that will actually direct it to do particular things that the client needs.
That's right.
In terms of their
But this also possibly
management.
means there's going to have to be a need to change procurement procedures as well from the normal, what the normal procurement procedures are now, which is very sort of focused in terms of following up and just ensuring that it happens, which is normal part of contract management.
So
but
somebody's still going to have to watch.
Sooner or later, someone's
watch this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Although based on the conference I went to yesterday, are saying that in the next 10, 15, 20 years there'll be no human being involved in the area of contracts and procurement.
How's that going to work when you've got things like evaluation teams and that's people? You can't do a tick box exercise in that particular part of the process.
Yes, it's what to make it happen is the bit that I guess is going to take the next 10, 15, 20 years to sort. Because I don't think you can just totally give it up to technology to do procurement.
Well, it's going to be a case of watching the space.
It is a case of watch the space. But even the suppliers from yesterday don't even know how it's going to work yet. But it is apparently it's going to be the total answer, and I don't believe it's a total answer at all. No. I mean, technology is there to assist. I don't think it's there to, to take over. To rule.
Yeah. Yes, because technology can't be the manager of the contract.
No.
They can only manage on data.
Yes.
They can't manage
That's
on
and technology
breakdown of processes and relationships and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah. And technology is not going to be able to do the thinking and the come up with a vision, the direction, the ideas, the requirements. None of technology is not going to be able to do that. So it's still going to have to be somewhere along the line someone who can look at it from a strategic perspective and work on that. But it is a bit sort of, at this point, it's looking a little scary as to what it's suggested it could be in the next 20 years.
And that will also depend on whether people have got the technology hardware, whether they've got the people who can manage that. I mean, because you think about third world countries at the moment who actually do a lot of buying and selling.
Yes.
They do a huge amount of stuff. And it's all paper-based, mostly in these places. Having the internet is one thing, but whether they've got the hardware and everything else to support the higher levels is another matter.
Right.
Now, no doubt it will come, but yeah.
Well, we've still got the problem in terms of we're okay for in developed countries because there's stable infrastructure, so therefore technology will be okay. But in developing countries where the infrastructure is poor, you cannot rely on e-procurement because if the infrastructure isn't there, and a stable power supply, for example, then you can't rely going into the future, because they can't rely now about being fully technologically usable.
And I can see that there's going to need to be a huge amount of interaction between the legal, political and commercial areas to actually get this thing up and running anyway. And then on the individual level with the buyers and the suppliers. Well, it's certainly going to be interesting. So what other mechanisms are there that are likely to come into play here?
Well, if we get away...
Maybe payment and stuff like that?
That's right. That's the next step, really. Primarily there is sort of new ways of payment, and such as Bitcoin, for example, and there's others as well. And they operate off a platform. You've got to hope that it works okay. Apparently is that you don't need people involvement, but I would think that sooner or later there needs to be people involvement to make sure that it happens. And even before that comes in, and it has to be, the legalities of it all has to be, approved, and law probably has to come in. Because even in the last 2 years, Bitcoin has been talked about, whatever, but it's already being superseded in a way by various other mechanisms. But even it's the acceptance is the problem, is that people aren't accepting too well, except for the techie type people, this concept of sort of forms of payment that you actually physically can't see, doesn't actually exist. You can't see a $10 note like you can if you put a $10 note on the table. You can see that, that it's sort of legal tender. But when it comes to Bitcoins and stuff, well, there's a lot to be done.
And I mean, when we're talking about current problems in technical and that kind of stuff, well, if the code's not written correctly, that would create big trouble.
Yeah, because if there are bugs in the system, and apparently that's the big issue now, let alone anything else coming into the future, if the bugs sort of get into it and there are problems then and it messes up your whole system, then how do you fix that problem? So it's got a matter of trust that the bugs will be fine and that it will be tested before you implement. So it's going to have to be a case in the short term. Now, how long that short term is, I don't know. But is in terms of you might have to run a parallel type system, so have a manual type system operating as well as the electronic, so that if it crashes on you and the bugs haven't been sorted, then you're not losing all that information that organisations have.
Okay, so then so you're running two parallel systems. But I mean, you're going to have to do that in any kind of transition between paper and technology.
That's right, and it could be that the two are going to have to operate, in tandem for a while.